were sleeping in actually a two-roomed house, and one of my brothers was sleeping in the kitchen, because we had an outside kitchen where my big brother would sleep. Life was not easy. It wasn't easy. Now, when this man got back, when the rebel then came back and said, this one, I quote him, let him rest in peace. He said, "My children, I am sorry I abandoned you."
Yes, just as we promised at 8, welcome now to the second edition of News Tonight. My name is Michael Jordan Lukoma. Mugalu Muhammad will join me in just a few seconds for the sign language interpretation. Let's have a look at the headlines as we start. President Museveni attends the Russia-Africa Economic Forum. Government to expose corrupt public officials. MPs disagree with the must degree requirement for teachers, while Uganda Airlines to fly the cranes to Burkina Faso. News Tonight, welcome once again. We'll start with President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who is currently in Sochi, that is Russia, and today joined over 36 African heads of government for the Russia-Africa Economic Summit. The summit, the first of its kind, is co-chaired by the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, and President of the Republic of Egypt, and also Chairman of the African Union, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. The summit, being held under the theme "Uncovering the Potential for Cooperation," seeks to discuss potential ways of strengthening and expanding Russia's relations and areas of cooperation with Africa in the political, socio-economic matters. President Putin, in his address, welcomed the heads of state and governments to Russia, saying that African countries are on their way towards socio-economic, scientific and technological development, and are also playing a significant role in international affairs.
I would like to cordially welcome all of you, participants and guests of the Economic Forum entitled Russia-Africa, which is timed to coincide with the first ever in history summit between the Russian Federation and African countries. Gathered in this hall are representatives of all countries of the African continent, officials, politicians, experts, and certainly leading businessmen. To attend this forum, around 2,000 Russian and foreign companies have come to this forum. The theme of the forum, Russia and Africa, opening up the potential for cooperation, is very important and relevant because economic issues are an indispensable and essential part in Russia's relations with African countries. Building close business ties is within our common interest because it helps sustainable development of our countries It also helps raise the quality of life for our people and address many social issues and others. I'd like to highlight that African countries are attracting ever greater attraction and interest of Russian companies. This is mainly due to the fact that Africa is becoming one of the core centers of economic growth. According to estimates of experts, by 2050, the GDP of African states will have reached $29 trillion. Over the last 5 years, our trade with Africa has more than doubled, and as just our colleague has pointed out, it is now more than $20 billion. Whether that is a big number or small.
To you all, first of all, I would like to express gratitude to President Putin for hospitality and for perfect organization of the Economic Forum Russia-Africa. We highly appreciate the attention that is given in the Russian Federation to strengthening the cooperation between Russia and Africa, and we regard the forum as the platform to develop the relationship for the mutual investments and the cooperation between the two peoples. And the forum is meant to strengthen the relationship between the countries in compliance with Agenda 2063.
President Fattah el-Sisi and President Vladimir Putin. Government has adopted a publicity drive approach against public officials who are being charged in the anti-corruption court. The government spokesperson Ofondo Pondo says that some public officials were interdicted from work after being found connection with corruption scandals by the anti-corruption court.
The State House Anti-Corruption Unit was established on the 10th of December 2018 by the President to fight corruption tendencies in public and some private institutions. Since then, a total of 415 complaints have been handled, and the government is confident on the available figures of the concluded and investigated cases.
That there is good public response. People are vigilant to complain about how government or government officials treat them. 8,022 have so far been concluded. 4,017 are under investigation, while 35,280 were referred to the relevant organs of government.
Opondo says a lot of cases are being handled by the police and the office of the IGG. Among the 93 people charged, 82 are public officers who were interdicted from work, and the 11 are private individuals.
Many people who are holding out like that, they are not physically in the offices because they know police will arrest them. But they have gone perhaps with the office stamp, or they have gone with the letterhead. The person has his card, business card. So this publicity drive is really to deny them any room for them to hold out.
Government has instructed all accounting officers to avoid association of the interdicted staffs and launched a publicity drive with the intention of exposing them.
In accordance with the Constitution and the Penal Code, if you're a public official and you are charged with a criminal offense relating to corruption and so on, we expect you to be interdicted. And accordingly, 82 public officials have been interdicted. We expect the acting permanent secretary to cause the interdiction of those staff.
Due to the intervention of the anti-corruption unit, government has rescued trafficked girls and recovered some cash, plus other outreach programs.
We have pressed these companies to make good, even meeting medical bills, give a return ticket to the people they have taken. They're also bodies. 6 guys were retired safely, but they're also bodies.
The UNT's intervention into labor export marketing led to the repatriation of trafficked girls and 6 bodies of individuals who died in the Middle East. Abdul Nasir Luwama for UBC News.
The Disciplinary Court of Police has arraigned 8 officers for cross-examination at the Naguru headquarters. The officers are being tried for alleged misconduct and neglect of duty in relation to the kidnap and murder of the late Maria Nagirinya and her driver Ronald Chitaimbwa.
These 8 police officers are being tried by the Police Disciplinary Court for alleged misconduct and neglect of duty contrary to Section 44, subsection 1 of the Police Act. The officers are being tried at Naguru Police Headquarters Disciplinary Court, chaired by Senior Commissioner of Police Dennis Odongping, in relation to the kidnap and murder of the late Maria Nagirinya and her driver. Maria Nagirinya was kidnapped on 28th of August this year and was discovered dead on August 30th. According to the prosecution, 7 officers failed to act immediately to respond to the report of kidnap, while 1 officer conducted himself in a manner that discredits the police force. The police officers being tried are ASP Muhammad Biansi, Andrew Nizeimana, Alan Okelo, Deputy AIP Sande Baguma, CPL Samuel Owana, Deputy CPL Ruben Chibikwamu, and CP Joshua Basaliza.
Were found drunk and legs at the counter. Yes or no?
Mr. Chairman, that was a statement of the father of the victim, and it's coming as a witness. I therefore pray that that question be put to him when he appears.
You say that on the 28th of August 2019, I was not on duty. Where was I supposed to be? Where was I deployed?
When you received a call from the station you attend, and after receiving a call, in fact you say you started pondering of what to do. And even you said that it was in the morning when you went and found your second phone.
Around what time?
Just was around in the morning.
That you received a call at what time? 3:45.
It was 3:45.
And he started pondering what to do.
Then based on that you failed to respond. Because later in the morning you went and picked your second phone in the sitting room. You found so many missed calls from different people. This is all from your statement.
If found guilty, they will be punished in accordance with the Police Act. The possible punishments include demotion, suspension, strong reprimand, and dismissal. For UBC, Adiana Kuti and Helen Barbara.
Quick march.
The Kalungu West Member of Parliament Joseph Sewunga has disagreed with the recent directive by the Ministry of Education and Sports tasking teachers to upgrade to degree level of academic in order to keep in the profession of teaching. Sewungu, who had an interaction with the press at Parliament, argues that the level of education cannot solve the education shortfalls in the country.
The recent projected deadline for teachers to upgrade to degrees is creating a heated debate among legislators. Effective 2021, teachers will have up to 2031 to upgrade to a degree, a period of 10 years. A few months to 2021, the Education Ministry is slated to review the curriculum of national training colleges and primary training colleges to upgrade them into degree awarding institutions. This newborn directive phases out all Grade 3 certificate and Grade 5 diploma training courses. The minimum entry qualification shall be A level, though those currently in training shall complete their academic programs.
The 10-year period is provided to ensure that students admitted before 2021 in national teacher colleges and primary teacher colleges have adequate time to adjust to the requirements of the national teacher policy standards, and also to ensure that they are not disadvantaged by this policy.
The Kalungu County West legislator, Joseph Sewungu, has responded in disagreement with the directive.
But let me say this, it's not the qualification of teachers that determines the teaching. It is the type of system, management, and the remuneration of teachers that determines teaching.
We realized a number of people have not read this policy. That's why they are saying what they are saying, because if they had, no one who has read that policy would fail to appreciate it.
This move is in line with the National Teachers Policy approved by Cabinet in April this year to facilitate and improve the quality of teachers. This policy will apply to all teachers who shall have attained a bachelor's degree in education, specializing in their level of interest.
Ladies and gentlemen, you remember, I think most of you were not born, but when we were growing up, the best learners in schools used to go to teacher training colleges, PTCs, NTCs, those would be the best.
As we talk now, PTCs have refused to recruit teachers, have failed to recruit teachers. Why? Because the conditions they gave to teachers are too strong. Hence, teachers are abandoned and the students refuse to go to teacher training colleges. But even then, where are those facilities that you have put in place as a government that will make teachers go and acquire degrees?
The TISA study report recommended the development of the national teacher policy to address these issues. So that is the foundation of the national teacher policy which we have today. Government through the national teacher policy recognizes that teaching is a profession.
The National Teachers Policy will give birth to a law that will create Uganda Institute of Teacher Education, a body where all teacher training institutions will have to subscribe. Ivan Kahwa and Susan Naonga at Parliament.
Which deadline? Are you terminating their services? How?
UBC News Tonight. The students' strike at Makerere University has entered its second day with protests against tuition increment and now suspension of fellow students. Police and the military spent a whole day in running battles with the rioting students who wanted to ban the university.
This is the second day running with the students and military, battering students at Makerere University, rioting against the 15% tuition policy. The strike, which started from Mitchell Hall of Residence, saw the striking students fetching their colleagues who were attending lectures at different colleges and forced them out. At the moment, police is engaging in the running battles with the students all over the university and have resorted to using tear gas. The strike has splitted over the main campus to the neighboring villages, including Nankulabi, Chikoni, and Kasubi. Deputy spokesperson Patrick Onyango said, police is doing its best to normalize the situation at Makerere and advise students to stay calm as the university settles their concern.
Amagezi genyinza okubawa bagondera amateeka aga university. Wa university taddawo policy bagende ne policy eyo baba kiwakanya policy eyo tebedda abantu tebatandika okwekalakasa bagende batule ne administrators bakulira university batule ku meeza bagonjera ensonga ezo ekifo ky'okuddaawo okutandika okwekalakasa kwenyigira mu bito bimenya amateeka ffe tujja kujja bakwate tubavune mu musango.
Vice Chancellor Makerere University Professor Barnabas Nawango yesterday vowed to suspend any student who will be caught in any disruptive activities. Joseph Buule, UBC, Makerere.
Away from Makerere, in the effort to fight the increasing cases of duplication of UNBS certificates and factory products, Ministry of Trade and Industry has warned those involved.
Members of the business fraternity have been cautioned against fraudulent paperwork, including forged UNBS certificates. The Minister for Trade and Industry, Amelia Chambade, says the increasing cases of duplication of products and forging of UNBS certificates will not only affect members of the business fraternity, but also the country as a whole. Chambade made the remarks during a press conference in her Kampala office, where she revealed that these vices are illegal and anyone caught involved shall be prosecuted in the courts of law, licenses cancelled and a penalty paid.
Fortunately, the UNBS organization has already started zeroing down on and arresting those culprits. So I'd like to warn all the Ugandans or producers who are fraudulently utilizing the UNBS certification to cease immediately, otherwise their businesses will be closed and even them they will be punished.
This follows cases of duplication of UNBS certificates and products on the increase in Kasanda district, where 3 people were arrested for involving in duplicating products of Imana Yera Company Limited in Mityana district. Police, in partnership with stakeholders of this company, arrested Sarah Nantongo, Nakate Edith and Katongole Fred of Bukuya Kasanda, working in a small factory in the area, for allegedly involving themselves in duplicating Ntunga Saze drink and the UNBS certificates, but later were released on police bond. The proprietor of Imana Yera Company Limited in Mityana, Kwizera Abdulatif, said after the UNBS certified their products, they were given the certificate for the quality products on 2nd July 2019, which these people duplicated.
That is really very bad because it is spoiling people's lives, spoiling our sales and the company. And I do appeal to the organizations that are concerned, more so UNBS, to come out and put too much emphasis on those people who are forging.
Continued misuse of fertilizers that affect climate change. This was raised in the assessment engagement of the CRAFT project by the SNV Netherlands Development Organization, and calls for proper sensitization of farmers about fertilizers on the market were also raised.
Adoption of climate-smart and ecologically sustainable production methods is key to improving productivity of the existing food crop methods and supply systems.
Across the value chain, right from the time of planning for land preparation, planting the crops, crop agronomy, harvesting, up to processing, there are specific practices which we call climate-smart practices that can be used, and they are also affordable. And these practices differ depending on the geographical location of where the farm is located.
Scientists believe that market-driven adoption and scaling of inclusive climate-smart business development and the proper use of fertilizers will enhance climate resiliency along with the selected agricultural value chains.
Inefficient fertilizer use ends up contributing to the emissions of greenhouse gases and specifically nitrous oxide. Another way is the organic fertilizer and specifically manure. Poor manure management ends up contributing to the emissions of these gases, specifically nitrous oxide, even methane into atmosphere. So there is a need to use the inorganic fertilizers and also the organic manure or the organic fertilizers in a way that will make them not lead to greenhouse gas emissions.
The SNV Netherlands Development Organization is implementing a crafty project to influence climate-resilient value chains for improved livelihoods.
We use agribusinesses, SMEs, small and medium enterprises, as the entry point, as we consider them the potential change agent that has a push and pull effect within a selected targeted value chain, whereby they can provoke change. So,
among the services to farmers through Rabobank is financial literacy and connection to local financial institutions for agribusiness boosting.
If they understand what their future clients are facing, then they can think with them. So they can then assess a loan application in the perspective of climate change. And that's what we are talking about. The more risky it is here, the higher the pricing should be.
Farmers need to use fertilizers moderately to allow soils replenish nutrients naturally. Abdul Nasir Lubwama for UBC News.
State Minister for Finance David Bahati has assured Ugandans that by the year 2020 Uganda will achieve the middle income status. Bahati was launching a report about the state of Uganda and world population in Kampala.
By providing this age group with health, education, skills, and jobs for employment so that they become the engine for economic growth in Uganda and create wealth.
Underscores the importance of social protection in improving the well-being of the people and growing the economy.
And so, in the context of the socio-economic transformation as contained in Vision 2040, our emphasis is ensuring that our policies and programs focus better on improvement of human capital through education, UPE, USE, tertiary education, vocational skills, and higher education.
Because we strongly believe in UNFPA that unless and until we're delivering a package, an integrated package of fundamental rights, we cannot achieve social protection, and hence we cannot reduce poverty and increase economic growth. And that integrated package has to be provided along a life cycle approach.
Non-government organizations championing efforts to skill the youth and transform them into job creators as opposed to job seekers have called for concerted efforts from other sector players for meaningful results. Katuba James of Wazesha Impact, one of the non-government organizations in the struggle, accuses other players for promoting unfriendly competition instead of focusing on collaborative efforts for the desired results. Katumba was speaking at an event where over 100 youth are exhibiting skills they have acquired.
25-year-old Olanya William is a senior 3 dropout after his parents' struggle to meet his scholastic requirements hit the limit in 2017. Since then, Olanya has been farming, dealing in a variety of produce like cassava, pumpkins, watermelon and poultry, among others.
For me, I decided to go for the farming because my parents, they pay my school fees for all these things.
Still determined to go back to school, Olanya opted for agribusiness with the hope of raising funds to fund his dreams.
I want to struggle for 2-3 years so that I go back to school.
However, it is not a bed of roses. Olanya points out some of the stumbling blocks frustrating his effort.
Sometimes diseases, they used to disturb me, but I struggle to and fro to stop those diseases.
To manage the cutthroat competition, Olanya has devised means of keeping his business afloat.
I feel that I should tell them to wash them, put it like this, so that if they reach home, they put it straight in.
Like Olanya, Atim Kathe is yet another youth reaping big from the skills acquired from Wezesha Impact Training. Formerly a student of fashion and design, Atim is into knitting and craft making, a job she's not about to retire from.
To make a bag like this, the bottle lids that we have collected here is 380 to make this bag. Then this bag is sold at 60,000.
Olanya and her team are some of the many youths who turned up at Nsambya Sharing Youth Center, exhibiting some of the skills acquired. Alexander Chokwijuka is one of the judges rating the competitors.
We are looking for businesses that have a marketing strategy, that can reach out to the community and sell to them what they're actually doing.
With such a picture, Chokwijuka is optimistic that the ever-increasing unemployment levels in the country will soon drop, if not wiped out totally.
Later on, you realize that Uganda has a lot of opportunities, but not so much is being done.
All exhibitors UBC talked to expressed determination to further their businesses. After all, returns on investment are promising.
And that's why I joined. When they came out with the issue, I was not hesitant.
And to the fellow youth, especially those yet to decide their future, here is a message.
They should join hands with the community if they can't afford school and see the skills they are gaining, work toward it, have the heart of doing it. This is the world that needs thinking a lot. So if you sit and you base on your papers, you will have papers but no work to do.
Since inception in 2013, Wezesha Impact has trained over 7,000 youth and still counting. Katumba James, one of the main brains behind the project, explains the selection criteria.
For young people that dropped out of school, we work with people aged between the 15 years to 24, and they should have dropped out of school for at least more than 2 years.
He, however, decries the unfriendly competition, especially from other players, advising on the need for collaborative efforts for meaningful results.
Sometimes there is a spirit of competition when actually we need to have a spirit of collaboration.
Some time back, government started up a project codenamed the Presidential Initiative with the aim of skilling the youth, especially those that did not make it for higher education, with the aim of reducing on unemployment levels in the country. And with initiatives like this, it is more than obvious that the future for the youth in the country is bright. Dokas Kimono and Daniel Omugoya, UBC TV News.
The Office of the Prime Minister, in collaboration with Ministry of Water and Environment, Media Challenge Initiative and other partners, are scaling up reporting on climate change. Using the media, the climate change campaign aims at increasing awareness about the causes and dangers of destroying the environment.
Climate action leaders, in terms of you set the agenda. If you say that this policy is there but is not being implemented, then the stories are coming, and then we're being able to, and then some people will wake up who are seated on that policy. Same thing with stories of scattered projects. Or
it is a collective effort. We will note that we are increasingly seeing unprecedented and rising warming temperatures, as our friend pointed out, that we are seeing warming temperatures. And what is the cause of this? It is our human activities. We are using
Mommy, you can't touch me. You can't touch me. Daddy, what's wrong?
I've had a long day, Angel, and I have a bad headache.
Oh, I'll give you something that will make you feel better if you promise to play with us.
Headache? Toothache. Unapoumwa, unataka kitulizo kwa haraka gani? Mara moja. Pain and Fever Reliever. a quality product from Beta Healthcare, contains paracetamol, caffeine, and aspirin. Beta Healthcare, caring for all. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Does heartburn stop you from eating the things you love? Eating too fast, alcohol, or spicy food can trigger acidity, heartburn, indigestion, or flatulence. Your best bet is Better Cool. Better Cool works fast to relieve acidity, heartburn, and indigestion. Trust Better Cool. Enjoy life. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
The two-day symposium will look at the latest intellectual property rights within the Internet of Things, uncovering the impact it has on innovation and development. Discussants will cover areas in pharmaceutical, big data, telecoms, ISPs, banking and insurance, government, energy and automotive. The main purpose of the conference is to examine the best ways in which to use knowledge and innovation to boost youth employment and foster the adoption of new technologies under the theme Innovation and the Internet of Things. Book now online at www.symposium.iptech.com. Registration for local delegates is $150 and $200 for international delegates. Happening on Thursday 24th to Friday 25th October 2019 at Speak Resort and Conference Center, Kampala. For further inquiries, contact Juliet on 0712 139 916.
This weekend on UBC.
My name is Mkayo Hannington, winner of the NSSF Friends with Benefits Season 2. Congratulations, Hannington! I used my winnings to boost my agricultural production and give a chance to the people in my community to work.
So join us this year for the third season of the NSSF Friends with Benefits, as 16 Ugandans share inspirational stories on how they use their NSSF benefits to do life-changing things. So tune in every Sunday with your host, Gaetano, and I, and special new host, Uncle D. It's another incredible display. It's the NSSF Friends with Benefits.
And that's not all. You have the power to vote for your favorite stories to win up to 55 million shillings, just like Huntington. This show is brought to you by
NSSF, a better life.
The National Environment Management Authority, that is now in business, has assured the public that the crude oil pipeline construction will not destroy the natural resources as well as the environment. This was at the second public hearing on the East African crude oil pipeline in Mubende. The hearing, organized by the Petroleum Authority, seeks to enhance public participation on issues pertaining to the oil and gas industry.
The second public hearing of the East African crude oil pipeline project is underway in Mubende district. Mubende is one of the 10 districts where the ECOP will traverse and compromise.
The things that have been done before the final investment decision demonstrate the willingness and interest of both the companies and the government to develop this project. As I have said, the companies have undertaken the feasibility studies, they have undertaken the technical studies to test this ground, whether it can hold equipment, they have undertaken this environment and social impact assessment, and those they have done before they do the FID.
Gomba and Sambabule districts are also represented here.
It was expensive and difficult to hold public hearings in every district. And so we had to choose in the 10 districts what are the equidistant places where public hearings could be held, but also where the maximum project affected people were. And based on those things, those aspects, it was agreed that the public hearings are held in Kakumiro, the second one is held in Mubende, and the third one is held in Rakai.
Related to the first environmental and social impact assessment public hearing in Kakumiro district, issues pertaining to compensation for land, environmental degradation, and local content top the agenda of the discussions.
So we are encouraging the government and the other key players to ensure that trees are planted to make sure that the environment is not totally destroyed in favor of the pipeline.
So whatever we're doing is to minimize impact. You saw the tractor digging after putting the pipe it put back and whatever. That's how they're going to do it. But there'll be change in flora and whatever. But we know that if there's no disturbance in the system after it is restored, it will recover itself.
While presiding over the event, the State Minister for Minerals, Peter Lokeris, urged the public to support the project during its implementation.
I was here in my chairman saying, all the way will go away. It will not go away for free. We are going to take it out there to sell it. And we get the money.
The East African crude oil pipeline is being designed in such a way that it avoids areas containing natural resources such as forests, mineral deposits, fisheries, among others. Dennis Igor for UBC News in Mubende District.
Thank you, Dennis. And in a bid to boost tourism in Uganda, Uganda Hotel Owners Association has set to train hotel owners countrywide on how to manage their places to be able to attract investors, to attract tourists. The training will also include strategies to protect the environment surrounding hotels to ensure they are always attractive and welcoming to the guests.
Because we have to be sure that it's really put into your core business. So for me, that has a lot of German wine. But the way
it's not lost on anyone that we need sustainable tourism. And by sustainable tourism, we need it in all areas of the hospitality sector and the tourism sector. We are talking about climate change, crisis, about the earth, about protecting the environment. But where do we begin? We begin with ourselves. And so sustainability is everybody's business, just like tourism is everybody's business. So when we called this meeting, it's to train the hoteliers, hotel owners, hoteliers, people that work in hotels, from the person that waters the garden to the chef that cooks in the kitchen. You know that for a long time I've been emphasizing about the many taxes, but also you know we have to reduce like the cost of power. We have to save energy. We have to save water. All those are gaps. But also we don't have good service standards.
Because the values of the traveler have changed and the business of tourism itself has changed. Today the travelers don't ask themselves why I need to travel. They ask themselves what value will I get from that travel. And that means that the whole dynamics around tourism and travel have changed. People are no longer buying transport and beds. Travelers are buying experiences. Travelers are looking at what is behind the product, not what you tell them about the product.
A little bit crazy and innovative about what you're doing that has a lot of German wine.
And on the international scene, Zimbabwe is in the process to print new banknotes to ease cash flow in the country.
Cash shortages have turned currency into a commodity that people are buying at a premium on the black market. To address the misnomer, more banknotes are being printed, a move that shouldn't have adverse impact if everything goes as planned.
A lot of people still have that the former governor of the Reserve Bank, Gono era, were printing, he would print notes to pay for goods and services. which is different from what the current government is trying to do, where we are printing notes in exchange for electronic money. So it's like banks who exchange electronic money that they have in their accounts and get notes, cash, and notes and coins into the banking system, which is different in terms of inflation. It doesn't cause inflation.
But people here who've been burnt before are still apprehensive.
We have got a worry that as a market, the government may not be able to adhere to the printing limits that they set. Because if you look at it, they're supposed to print probably up to 10% or 15% of the broad money supply, which is up to about 2 billion. But the danger is that they will print more than the 2 billion.
Another concern is keeping the new currency in the formal system. Because of Zimbabwe's highly informalized economy, whatever notes and coins are in circulation may end up here, on the streets, exchanging hands outside of the banks. That would require enforcement of banking regulations.
We have got the laws which we should be able to use to make sure that people actually bank their daily takings, but they haven't been used in the past years.
The recent introduction of laws that tighten currency flows have elicited a public outcry, a response that reflects a lack of confidence, the other currency that's indispensable if economic stabilization efforts are to succeed.
Moving on now to sports. After a good show at the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations, the national team, that's the Uganda Cranes, has returned into qualification rounds for the next edition this November. Cranes are set to play their first game on the 13th of November against Burkina Faso before hosting Malawi. A chartered plane has been already reserved for both the team and spectators.
Association has confirmed a chartered flight aboard Uganda Airlines to Burkina Faso as Uganda Cranes kick off the Total 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. Cranes will be looking at its third successful qualification to the Nations Cup finals.
Keeps the ball in as well, getting the ball in the back, and there's a goal! Oh, he's kept it out! Onyango kept it out! How did he do it?
Head coach Jonathan McKinstry will name his 30-man squad on the 30th of this month, who will kick-start training the following week.
Some players in the UPL, some players in the Chan squad, who I think match up well with what we're trying to do for this African Cup of Nations campaign. So when we name the squad next week, it won't be an entirely foreign-based team. There will be UPL players in that squad. They'll be in that squad because we feel their skill set and their experience in the game is suitable for what we want. It's not because we have to name UPL players. If I felt that we were best served by naming a completely foreign-based squad, then I would do that.
Meanwhile, FIFA has launched the 366 Back to Nambole campaign as a drive to motivate all in Crane's second qualifier game at Nambole Stadium. The campaign has been derived from the date when Uganda Cranes last played against Cape Verde on the 17th November 2018, confirming qualification to the 2018 AFCON finals. After the 13th of November game, Cranes will host Malawi on the 17th at Mandela National Stadium.
Oh, there's a deflection! Oh, did he miss it? What was he doing? What was he thinking? Kadu! Oh my word, how many sitters have we seen tonight?
All is set for the 10th edition of the Entebbe Golf Tournament that will attract international golfers. The tournament that starts on the 28th of this month has been added as a Safari Tour Golf Series.
And the fairways are greener. Excitement among the golfing fraternity after confirmation that the Entebbe Golf Tournament has been added to the Safari Tour Golf Series to help earn points to feature at the Kenya Open. This has forced organizers to switch the format of the tournament from 2 days to 4 to enable fit in a professional play. 8 golfers from Kenya will battle 150 Ugandan golfers in this year's edition that has 40 million shillings prize money lined up.
It's a very beautiful outdoor sport which is very healthy. If you look at
the most healthy sports. If you Google the most healthy sports, you're going to find golf way up there. So I would like you to join us, come, enjoy yourself with us, come and watch and see the best players in Uganda and cover and see what it's all about. So yes, the game of golf is growing very well in Uganda. It's really developing, and we are sure that we are going to be competing very well, not only in Africa but in the rest of the world very soon. So I congratulate Entebbe Club for the preparation of this event.
The games that start on the 28th of this month will equally be a world amateur ranking event, giving opportunity to Ugandans to improve their international ranking. Professional golfers are set to play 72 holes. Gross players will play 54 holes, while subsidiary players will play 18 holes. A high level of competition is expected, perhaps to beat last year's amateur winner Emmanuel Amoko's record of 149 gross over 36 holes. Abraham Ainemani led the pros with 3 under 139 gross over the 2 days. Now Breweries, under its umbrella Castlelite, are sponsoring the tournament to a tune of 100 million shillings.
The Uganda Olympic Committee and the National Council of Sports have set aside Tuesday next week to meet all stakeholders in the boxing fraternity to update them on the 2020 Olympics pathway. Boxing's governing body, AIBA, was suspended by the International Olympic Committee that in turn set up a task force to secure a pathway to ensure boxing takes part in the 2020 Olympics in Japan. Uganda's William Bleak is a member of that 5-man committee and will play a big part in Tuesday's meeting ahead of the Africa qualifier due in Senegal next year. The meeting, to be hosted at the MTN Arena in Lugogo, is open to all boxing stakeholders, especially the boxers. The peculiar thing about this particular pathway is that forthwith it's open to both professional and amateur boxers. Tonight we'll first have Semper Alex with an update on the weather forecast.
Just in weather from the Weather Center, only here on UBC TV with the Semper Alex Kim. It has been rainfall activities, and actually it is still continuing across the country. And over the last 24 hours to 9 a.m. this morning, Kampala reported 27.6 millimeters of rainfall, while Kasese reported 5.9 and Tororo 4.2 millimeters of rainfall. This is so because of the alignment of the rain belt over our region. Actually, it is quite spread over the region. That is why we are having a lot of rainfall. However, tomorrow morning we do expect rainfall activities across most parts of the country, apart from areas of the eastern as well as Roa, where we do expect sunny intervals. Well, into the afternoon we do expect a continuation of rainfall activities, apart from a few areas, especially along the Lake Victoria Basin, including Lira, where we do expect sunny intervals to dominate. Temperatures are expected to range between 29 degrees Celsius in Lira to 23 degrees Celsius in Kabale. Well, as for the nation's capital, Kampala, at 27 degrees Celsius as a maximum. And elsewhere across the globe, we are forecasting for Nairobi chances of rainfall at 25 degrees Celsius as a maximum, whereas London is expected to be quite cloudy at 14 degrees Celsius as a maximum. That will be quite cold. That brings us to the end. Stay tuned to UBC. I remain Semper Alex Kim.
Semper Alex Kim. Let's now have a look at the headlines once again, and we call it an evening. President Yoweri Museveni is attending the Russia-Africa Economic Forum. Government is to expose corrupt public officials. MPs have disagreed with the new mass degree requirement policy for teachers, while the Uganda Airlines will fly the cranes to Burkina Faso. That is all that Newsroom had for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Just keep in touch with UBC TV for other programs. Michael Jordan Lukumwa is my name, with my colleague Mugalu Muhammad and the whole team here. We wish you the best of the night. Bye-bye.
That has to do what God has promised to do in your life. Watch now.
At the Universal Church of the Kingdom of God.
My name is Achonye Susan. I was sick. I had complications whereby if I go to the hospital, the doctor could tell me, so you have malaria all the time, malaria, headache all the time. I had some pains that even if I go to check in the hospital, they can't find anything. So the money that I was working for, most of it was going from treatment. Also another challenge that I had is financial problem. I was working, but the money was too little. And also my bosses, they didn't like me at all from the workplace. I could not sleep every night because I know that if I go to bed, I would have those husbands of the night. I dream badly, in which I wake up when I'm very tired. I could feel like spiritual I'm okay, but inside of me, I was empty, totally empty. I was invited to the church by a pastor, so when I came in the church alone, I felt this is the right place for me to stay in. And then when they taught us about the chains of prayers, I felt Monday to Sunday, I have that problem that I need to fix in. I could come every day. They taught us about the tithe, which made me so excited. I also started giving my tithe. When campaigns came, I also entered in. I started seeing my life changing. All those problems disappeared. Sickness disappeared. The husbands of the night and the bad dreams also disappeared.